Hi, I'm Alex Berry with Cobalt Boats. Welcome aboard the Cobalt A40. The boat we're going to be talking about today is primarily the A40C, being the coupe model. However, the A40 hardtop has all the same features, so when you look at one, you're looking at both. Welcome aboard. Today we're going to start out pointing out the general features of the Cobalt A40. Obviously, I'm on the back of the boat and I'm standing on the hydraulic swim platform. The platform itself is run by the house battery system, so the house batteries need to be turned on. The additional component to keep in mind is that the engines must be completely turned off and the ignition switches in the vertical or off position. The platform is hydraulic and as such has a tremendous amount of force. Having said that, it is not designed to lift people or water toys. It is designed just to lift itself. The point being is that when it is being operated, you don't want anybody on it, and you don't want anybody right behind the boat in the water waiting for it to come down. Now that we have the engines turned off and the ignition keys turned off, the platform is ready to operate. I'm standing in the starboard rear entry to the cockpit from the swim platform area. In this area is our shore power input panel. In conjunction with that panel, there is a door that opens with a rocker switch in there that is marked swim platform. And I simply push the down arrow and the platform will lower. And it lowers down about a foot underwater before it stops. You'll notice that there's an alarm going off while it's moving. That's to clue everybody in the area that the platform is being deployed or retracted. To retract the platform, we simply reverse the procedure with the same switch and bring it back up to its housed position. One of the features of the swim platform is there is a telescoping boarding ladder underneath it. It can be used regardless of the position of the platform. It simply pulls out of the back of the boat and drops down 4 steps, making it much easier to board the boat. On the back of the boat is this wonderful sun deck pad area. What's really unique about it is the amount of storage that's underneath these 2 gull wing lids. They open up, exposing huge amounts of storage above the engines for your dock bumpers, dock lines, whatever you would like to put there. Another feature of the motorbox sun deck area is these backrests. There are 2 of them and they are independent of each other. Obviously, in the position they're in right now is for facing forward. When you're at rest, a great place to lounge out and enjoy the sun. On both sides of the hull, from the gunnel trim on down, there are many discharge points. I'll just point out a couple of them on the starboard side here. For example, these chrome fittings are actual vents for different tanks within the boat. Fuel tanks, water tanks, that sort of thing. There are bilge pumps in the boat, a total of 4 of them, and each one has its own discharge point. What you're seeing right here is the discharge from the cockpit air conditioning. Anytime that system is running, whether it's in the heat or cooling modes, it has water circulating through it and it is being discharged out the side of the boat. The other air conditioner for the forward cabin, the discharge is on the port bow. On the deck of the boat, in addition to the fender clip mounts, is the fuel fill on the starboard side. It is marked according to the type of fuel needed for the boat in question. One of the nice features on a Cobalt, and this applies to all Cobalts, is that the fuel fill caps do not require a special wrench to take them off. You simply twist it, it pops out, and you can unscrew the cap. On the port side of the deck, there's 2 very important fittings. One is the water fill. The cap works just like the fuel fill did over on the starboard side. It's spring-loaded, and you put in potable water into the water system. The fitting right behind it is the waste pump-out fitting. This is where a marina can hook up to the boat and literally pull the contents of the holding tank from the vacuum flush toilet system out. The thing to remember on this cap is that there is no safety lanyard. There cannot be, because the marina has to create a perfect seal on this fitting for the vacuum system to work. So that cap is not attached to the boat. Make sure you hang on to it because it will not float. We're now going to talk about the antennas on the top of the A40. I want to point out at first that most of the antennas that I'm going to talk about are optional antennas based on the way the boat has been ordered. The first one we're going to talk about is this small dome back here that says TrackVision. This is part of the satellite TV system, and there is a tracking device inside this that actually watches the satellites so that you can get TV. Forward of that is the radar. The radar is a very common option and is either one of two kinds. This is what is called open array. This whole antenna will spin when the system is energized. This is a 48-inch open array antenna for the radar. The more popular and common radar dome is just an enclosed dome, which is 24 inches in diameter, and the spinning part you don't see. It's actually inside of it. They both do the same job, except that the open array radar has a much longer range. This radar can see approximately 48 to 60 miles. On an inland lake, that's probably not necessary, but if you're offshore in the saltwater areas, this would be the right antenna to have with your radar. Also, on this assembly where these two antennas are mounted is the navigation light. This is required by federal law. It is the highest point of the boat. This light, which is called an all-around light, in other words, it can be seen as a white light 360 degrees. This will come on when you turn on your anchoring lights by itself. That is required where you have one white light visible in all directions when you're at anchor, where other boats could possibly run into you. For navigation, it turns on this light and the combination red and green light on the bow of the boat. That is international lighting, legal anywhere in the world. Also up on the top of this boat is our electric horns, and on this particular boat it has the sure shade option, and the mechanism is up here. Forward of that is the optional spotlight, which is controlled from the driver's dash. It is not recommended that you do what I'm doing and spend any time up here whatsoever. It is not safe to be up on top of this boat. Even at rest, all you got to have is a wave come by and the boat start rocking and over you go. The last antenna that we're going to talk about that you can actually see is this Cirrus Galaxy antenna mounted right ahead of the driver's side windshield. This boat was optioned with the satellite radio system, such as XM radio, that sort of thing. That's what this antenna is for. The motor box assembly on the A40 opens electrically. You need to make sure that the house battery power is turned on for it to operate. There's a switch right over the refrigerator to operate the motor box assembly. Once the motor box is fully raised, it's always advisable to put in the safety prop rod, which is mounted on the underside of the motor box. Simply release this catch, the prod drops down, and there's a receptacle for it to go into. Forward of the engine room is the auxiliary space, including the generator, water systems, 12-volt DC systems, etc. It's also a lot of storage. It is accessible through this floor hatch in the cockpit. Inside this space are two primary systems that we need to talk about. One that you're looking at right now is the 12-volt DC panel. The 5 switches across the bottom, 3 reds and 2 yellows, are the main battery switches. Normally you will never have to use these from here. They are controlled from the dash battery control panel, which we'll talk about later. Above those switches are all of the 12-volt DC circuit breakers for the different systems in the boat. One, for example, is the circuit breaker controlling the anchor windlass system. The other major components in this area are the generator, which is this white box that you're looking at right now. That is actually an enclosure to control the sound coming from the generator to keep it from coming into the boat. Additionally, right over here we have the fuel valves. These are on diesel-powered boats only. Normally you will not have to do anything with them. Outboard, back in there where you really can't see very well, are the water systems, and they are non-serviceable items to be taken care of by your authorized Cobalt dealer. And lastly in this space is storage for the cockpit table. This table is stored right down here and simply lifts out and then can be put on its mount in the cockpit whenever you want. This is the cockpit galley area. We're going to start from the front of it and work back. The very first item is a trash container. This lid comes off, and the only reason I point this out is the container itself will lift out for easy cleaning. Additionally, behind that, down in here, you can see that there are circuit breakers for the stove and the refrigerators. Working our way aft, the next lid exposes the hot and cold water sink. We do have a potable water system aboard the boat with both hot and cold water. The hot water can be heated in one of two ways. If you're plugged into shore power and have 110 AC voltage, or you're using your generator for the same voltage, you can have hot water just like your household water heater. Additionally, on this boat, we're taking coolant from the port engine and circulating it through an enclosed coil in that hot water heater. So without having any shore power, any generator running, if the main engines are running, you have hot water. It's a very nice feature. Working our way aft, the next lid covers the countertop grill. This grill assembly will only run on 110 volt AC current. So you either have to have the boat plugged into shore power, or you have to have the generator running to operate this grill. There are circuit breaker switches in the cabin electric panel to energize this assembly. It is controlled right here as far as the temperature of the grill top itself is concerned. Anytime the lid is closed, the grill will not work. Or if it's turned on, if you close the lid, it shuts itself off to prevent damage to the boat and to the grill itself. The next and last item working our way aft is another trash container. And just like the forward one, it lifts out for cleaning. The lower doors in the cockpit galley cover the standard refrigerator and either a second refrigerator, storage area, or an ice maker. This particular boat has two refrigerators up here instead of one, which is a very common way to build the boat. These are drawer type refrigerators where the drawers simply open and you can put whatever you want to in there. The Cobalt A40 is equipped with a vacuum flush toilet system which is state-of-the-art. The beauty of this system is that it uses very little water for flushing in comparison to a conventional marine toilet system. You do have to have the water system turned on for the system to operate. There is a handle at the bottom of the toilet itself that you depress with your foot and it flushes the toilet. The head compartment floor is actually below what is commonly known as static water line. Therefore, water that accumulates in the head compartment on the floor from the shower can't just drain overboard. It literally goes into a shower sump, which is automatically controlled and will automatically pump the contents of its container overboard as necessary. I hope you found this information informative and important to you with your new A40. Keep in mind that your dealer is always available to you, as we are in Neodesha at the boat plant. Please keep your dealer advised as to any issues that might arise, and let us have the opportunity to work through those with you to make sure that you enjoy the boat to the fullest. Thank you so much.